저희 임경수님 PPT 좀 띄워놔 주시겠어요? 영상팀 계신가요? 네. 발표자 마이크도 좀 올려주세요.
잘 들려요? 네, 좋습니다. 제4회 서울 명상 엑스포 축하드립니다.
I would like to congratulate.
예. 화면이 앞에 있어서 보기 좋네요. 네, 잘 들려요? 예. 제가 지금 마음이 차분해져 있어가지고 조금 더 크게 하도록 하겠습니다. 예. 이렇게 반대로 하려면 빨간색. 오케이, 돼요. 오케이, 좋아요. 오케이. 이것은 간단한데 이쪽은 빨리 안 되네요. 됐어요. 이건 뒤로 역으로 올 이유는 없고 계속 앞으로만 가야 되니까 괜찮을 것 같아요. 이렇게 앞으로, 오케이, 뒤로, 오케이, 좋아요. 알겠습니다. 네. 이렇게 다 된 거요? 네, 저도 괜찮아요. 네, 좋습니다. 그리고 빛은 계속 저기 있고요. 이렇게 좋아요.
이번 채널 마이크 테스트. 이번 채널 마이크 테스트. 채널 2 마이크 테스트. 1번이요?
화면 한 번만 띄워주시겠어요? 줌으로. 줌 송출 지금 힘들까요?
이제 곧 컨퍼런스가 시작되오니 내빈 여러분들은 착석해 주시고 휴대폰은 무음으로 해주시길 바랍니다.
The conference will start in a moment. Please take a seat and put your cell phones on. Put your cell phones on silent mode.
네, 점심 맛있게 드셨는지요? 2023
I hope
국제
you
명상
enjoyed lunch.
서울 국제 명상 엑스포를
So we
위해
have a lot
많은
of
분들이
people who have
찾아주셨는데요.
participated in the
본 행사는
2023,
온라인을
the
통해서도
fourth Seoul
많은 분들이
International
함께하고
Meditation
계십니다.
Expo.
서울
So
국제
we
명상
also have a lot of
엑스포
people
유튜브
with
채널을
us
통해서
online
보실
as
수도
well. You
있고요.
can watch
또한
our
서울
forum
국제
through the
명상
YouTube
엑스포
channel at
홈페이지 내
Seoul International
메타버스로
Meditation
들어오시면
Expo. And if you
학술관에서
come in
중계를
through
보실
the
수 있습니다.
homepage of the
자, 이제 두
Seoul
번째
International
강연을 시작할
Meditation
텐데요.
Expo, within the
한국
metaverse, you
명상
can see the
심리상담학회
real-time
이사장님이신 임경스님께서 K
we
명상가
have
가나선이라는 주제로 여러분들과
Venerable
함께
Im-kyung,
하려
President of
합니다.
the Korean
여러분
Society for
다들 큰 박수로
Meditation on
스님을
Psychological
모시겠습니다.
Counseling. He will give a presentation on K meditation and Kanhwa-sam.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello, everyone.
목소리가 적어요. 안녕하세요.
Can you say it again? Why your voice is so small? Nice to meet you all.
K 명상과
Today,
간화선이라는 주제로
I'm going to deliver a lecture on the theme of K meditation and Ganasan. I am Venerable 임경스님.
연구소 소장이신 정도 스님께서
Venerable
제4차
정도
서울 명상 엑스포
has been working on hosting this
그
event.
전에 코로나 때문에 많이 못 해왔는데
This event was not successfully held due to the
지나갔으니까
COVID-19 pandemic,
체험
and the
중심으로
pandemic,
또
as the
많은
pandemic
대중화를
subsides,
위해서
and
여러 가지로 기획을 하신 걸로 알고
I know that
있습니다.
he
그래서
organized this
동국대가 이런
event with many
명상의 센터가
programs.
되고
So I
큰
hope that
역할을
Dongguk
하실
University
거라
will play a
기대합니다.
critical role
이 점에
in this
대해서
field, in the meditation
동국대에서
field.
열심히 애쓰고 고생하신 분들께 박수 좀
So can you
부탁드릴게요.
give a round of applause to the people who have been working to
이 자리가
make this
뜻깊은
happen?
것은 저희가 동국대에서 박사
I think
학위를
that this
바로 이
event
자리에서 받았던
this is more meaningful to me because I
오래전
completed
기억이
my
또 올라왔어요.
PhD
예. 그러면서
at Dongguk University.
그 당시에는
At the time,
영상이라든가 이런 것에 대한 관심이 없었어요.
There was not
근데
great
이제
interest,
다시
public
20년,
interest in
30년이
meditation.
지난 지금에
But now, after 20,
명상이
30
우리
years from that
사회에
time,
커다란 주류를 이루고
meditation
앞으로
has become a
더욱더
mainstream trend
우리
in Korea.
후세들은 명상을 더 많이 생각하고 실습할 것 같습니다.
And I have this feeling that the future generations will pay more respect and interest in this field of meditation. Why do you think people are interested in meditation these days?
아니, 제 질문을 옆 사람한테 질문을 해볼래요? 안녕하세요.
Would you ask the
옆
same
사람하고.
question to the
안녕하세요.
person sitting next to
아니,
you?
옆 사람한테
Like
인사하시라니까요.
hello,
저하고
say hello
인사하듯이.
to the person sitting
안녕하세요.
next to you. Hello. Follow me,
물어보세요. 명상이
and then
왜
ask
사람들한테 관심을 갖는 것일까요?
why people pay attention to meditation.
뭐라고 대답해요?
What do they answer? What's the answer?
네, 큰 소리로 이야기해봐요. 첫
Can
번째
you
왜
shout
그러죠?
so that I can hear you? What's the
목소리가 안
answer?
들려요. 크게
I cannot
해봐요.
hear you. Can you say a bit louder?
예? 전부 다 손을 앞으로 내보세요.
Please stretch out your arms in front of you as you breathe in.
내쉬고
Follow me.
숨 들어 마시고
Breathe in.
잘하고 계세요.
You're doing a great job. And breathe out.
가슴 앞으로 가져오시고
And bring your two hands in front of your chest. Breathe in and breathe out. Now close your eyes gently. And breathe in and breathe out.
숨 들어 마시고
Breathe in,
내쉬고
breathe out.
내쉬고
Breathe out.
네, 좋아요. 눈을 뜨고 지금
Great.
기분 어때요?
Open your eyes. How do you feel?
또 물어보세요. 옆 사람에게.
Now
지금
ask
기분
again
어떤가요?
to the person sitting next to you how they feel.
좋아요. 마음이 평화롭다. 손 들어봐요.
Raise your hand if you
네,
feel
대부분
peaceful.
다 아니고.
Most of people
마음이
raise the
개운하다.
hands. And some
방금
people,
짧게 해보니까
anyone who
마음이
feels
개운하다. 방금 호흡에 집중하니까 마음이 더 불편해진다. 손 들어봐요.
is there anyone who feel
한 사람도
discomfortable,
없어요. 저 위에
uncomfortable
계신 분
after
계시네요.
the
그분한테
breathing
박수.
exercise? There is one person. Give a applause to for that person.
힘내시기 바라고. 우리가 명상을 하는 이유는
The reason we practice
네,
meditation
마음의 평화와
is for peaceful mind
개운함과
and
자기의 내적
cleansed
성찰을
mind
위해서
and for
우리가
self-reflection.
명상을 해요.
That is why
근데
we practice meditation.
일상에서는
But in daily
가장
life,
많은 관심은 여기 칠판 보듯이 이 건강
reason
때문에
people
사람들이 명상에
became
많은
interested
관심을
in
갖는 것
meditation
같아요.
is because of
나이가
physical health.
젊을 때는 건강이 내 이슈가 안 돼요.
When we are
하지만
young, we
나이가
are not
들면
really paying attention to health. But when you get older, we start to worry about our
나이가
health
혹시
state.
죄송한 질문인데 나이가 60 넘은 사람 손 들어봐요.
Either
손
raise your
들어봐요.
hand if you are
60.
over
좋아요.
60.
내리세요.
Good. Now
좋아요.
put your hands
이분들은
down.
건강을 한 번이라도 생각을 해보셨을 거예요.
I think these people have been
제가
worried
아시는
about
분이
their health even at
이번에
least once.
정년 퇴임을 했어요.
I
대학
I
교수님이신데
know one professor who
심리학
retired
전공
this
하신
year.
대학
His
교수님인데
major is psychology.
정년을 하니까 어떠세요?
So
이렇게
I
물어보니까
asked how he feels about
시원하고
retirement.
섭섭합니다. 이렇게
He
대답할
said
줄
he-
알았거든요.
I
근데 뭐라고
expected him to
대답하냐면
answer he feels refreshing
죽음을 많이
and
생각한대요.
sad a bit,
그러니까
but his answer was that
그전에는 죽음의
he
문제가
think
많이 생각을
much
안
more about
했는데
death.
이제 나이가
Before
들고
retirement,
정년을
he
하니까
didn't think
이후에
about death
죽음에
that
대한
much,
문제가
but
많이
after
많이
retirement,
머릿속에
the problem of
스치고
death
지나간다는 거예요.
comes
아니, 죽음의
into
문제가
his
스치고
mind
지나가면
frequently.
많이 두렵지 않는가요?
When you think of that, aren't you
시원하대요.
scared?
이분
I
대답이.
asked, and he
죽음
answered
앞에서
that it's
시원하다는 말이
refreshing.
말이 이해가 좀 안 돼서
So I couldn't understand.
시원해요. 그랬더니
Why do you
모든
feel
것을
refreshing?
내려놓을 수 있어서 시원하대요.
And he answered, because he
짊어진 짐들,
could
해야 할 일들,
let go
내가
of everything.
원했던,
He's
원치
been
않던 사람과의
responsible,
관계 속에서
and
너무
the
많은
relationships with people
스트레스와
he didn't want
여러
to be
가지
in contact
마땅히
with,
해야만 한다는
and the duty that he had to do and deal with. He
죽음을
was under
생각하는
this
순간에 그런 걸 안 해도 되니까
heavy duties, and when he think of that, he think that
마음이
now he can take a rest.
굉장히 시원해진대요.
So his mind becomes refreshing when you think of that. So give him a round of
여러분들은
applause.
어떤가요? 죽음
How about
앞에서 두렵지 않나요?
Don't you feel scared if you think of that?
그래서 이 건강 문제는
So
죽음의 문제하고 연결이
health
돼요.
is directly connected to
실존 심리 치료에서는
and the real psychology therapy.
죽음을 받아들이는가 받아들이지 않는가가
We ask whether so the question of whether accepting death or not is an important criteria. So when we think of death, we feel scared. That is normal. But I read something written by a psychologist, which goes, we were happy, warm when we were in the uterus of our mom. When it comes to the time that we have to get out of mom's uterus, the baby experienced like 10 times as much pain as that of moms. And the fear of death follows the baby till the baby gets to death. So the fear of death, what do you think it is? It's about non-existence, and disconnection. When you are suffering and in difficult times, because of the fear to be broken, we have this fear to death. When we work and also in connection, when we have friendships and we have a loving family, we can be released from that fear of death. Do you really think so? The fear of death cannot be overcome, can it? We just breathed in and out, and you said that you felt refreshing and comfortable. And these positive emotions will help you to overcome the fear of death. In this sense, if you watch the screen, people, I asked, well, what makes them happy? Raise your hand if you felt happy when you had successful enterprise, when your business went successful. Raise your hand if you are happy because of a loving family. I think the people who felt happy about successful business, the most males are dominant, and is there anyone who feel happy among social contacts? we have to, it costs when we achieve these things. When you have a successful business, you have to pay the cost. There's expenses, and then how can we define the healthy mental state? How can you define the positive mental health? That only comes through meditation. When I say this, how many of you agree with me? So through meditation, we feel happy and joyful. This is true in the sense of positive health. Can you follow me? Positive health. That is, when I'm free from disease, this is healthy in a narrow sense. When your mind is truly happy and joyful and comfortable, that state can be called positive health. Just simply the state that you are free from disease cannot be described as true health. But if you do not have any suffering, that is true suffering. That is true health. This concept of positive health have many proof. This is definition of health by the World Health Organization.
So health is a dynamic state of complete physical, mental, spiritual, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So here, you can see that the first thing for the health is the physical health, and the second is the mental health. But usually in daily lives, we only talk about these two aspects, the body, the physical health, and the mental health. So we tell people to be healthy in the physical ways or their mind. However, the executive board of the WHO said included the third aspect, which is the spiritual health. This is gaining peace of mind through meditation. And the fourth is social well-being. Here, it is not just about the state of absence. Just because you're not sick or just because you are not suffering in the mind does not necessarily mean that you are healthy. If you are really happy and if you are really peaceful, only then can you say that you are healthy. So again, put your hands in front of your chest. Please raise your hand. Please breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now close your eyes. Put your hands down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe out. Breathe out. Good. Hello? If being in a difficult stage and in suffering does not mean that you are healthy. If you have physical agony, if your knees hurt, if your arms hurt, that is also signs of being unhealthy. However, if it disappears, that is also being healthy. However, positive health is only when you are happy in the mind and you are pleasant in the mind. Only then can you say that you are genuinely healthy. So just previously, we have experienced that if you have become more complacent and more comfortable in the mind through the breathing meditation, then you are really healthy. So if you are able to experience happiness and if you're able to experience the joy of the mind through meditation, then you are healthy. So this is a definition of the positive health. So today, the first thing I would like to go over was that why meditation? It is because it is related to health. Being healthy does not mean that it is an absence of disease or frailty. It is a state when your mind is happy, full, and complacent. Only then can you say that you are genuinely happy. Then there are so many types of different meditations. Over the past 80 years, there have been emergence of and adoption of many different types of meditation. Ever since the 1980s, since we have been liberalized, we have been adopting the Western culture. And while adopting the Western culture, we have made it our own. We have absorbed it as our own. So today, after 70, 80 years, we also have what is called K meditation, like K-drama and K-pop. We do have the capacity to create our own type of meditation. So the national power is not just about the economy power and the military power. The genuine national power is all about the soft power. So the hard power is economic ability and the military ability. However, we also need to become a soft power nation in cultural wise. Then what is soft power? That is a program of meditation. So Vipassana meditation is from the Southern Buddhism tradition. When you go abroad, a lot of people study Vipassana. If you want to study Vipassana, you have to go to the southern part. So the mindfulness, which I also refer to it as being aware. So the mindfulness actually came from, the term actually came from the United States. So the mindfulness meditation, we cannot say that it was created by Korea. Then what is a Korean type of meditation? What is the innate meditation of Korea? So we have also adopted many meditations from Tibet. There has been recarcination, observational practice, and chanting of the mind. So there's a lot of Tibetan meditation within the meditation in Korea. So all these different types of meditation have been flowing into Korea, making the culture of meditation even more diverse. However, should we just stop in just importing these different types of meditation? Should we just stop in just translating the meditation, different types of meditation? Should we just follow the meditation that has been already practiced by other countries? So people are clapping. Please clap. So it is time for us to make our own type of meditation. Do you agree? Oh, so now that we all agree, let's clap one more time. Now it is time for us to create a new type of meditation innate in Korea. It is now time for us to be in the vanguard of creating Korea's meditation, which is our own. Then who should do this and where? Venerable Jeongdo has once said, that he also told me that I am allowed to say this critical comments about the creating Korea's own meditation. So do have permission to say this. So I do believe that we all need to become the owner and embark and participate and engage in making Korea's own meditation. And I think university should also be a part of it, and I need your support as well. Let's give Venerable Jeongdo a big round of applause. Also, I do hope that Dongguk University will also take part in this process. This is because Dongguk University has the human resources and the capacity. So I do think that we can have high expectations to the university. And I know that a lot of you are here to listen to the lectures, and I know that you have the consciousness and the perception. And I think that you do need these perceptions and consciousness. Just because it's from a foreign country, you cannot just say that it's good or it's the best. That age is now over. It is now time, it is now the age for us to boast about our own soft power. It goes the same with meditation. Then, ever since the Silla dynasty, where can we create the soft power of meditation? In Confucius, the meditation here is a meditation within the mountains, and they haven't been able to be expanded. However, the Joseon Buddhism and the mountains Buddhism has done something well. That is that the grandmothers and the mothers have always been chanting. So chanting meditation has been well established within Korea. So chanting Buddhism means that you recognize the Buddhi, you sati, you do not forget, you remember, and so chanting is actually the same as remembering the Buddha. Let's repeat together. Let's clap hands with the person next to you and chant together. Please clap your hands with the person next to you and let's chant together. Keep going. So slowly close your eyes and talk softer. In the heart, please think of the Buddha. Good. This is chanting. Our mothers and our grandmothers stood up all night and chanted and prayed towards the Buddha, and they sought and pursued and felt a peace of mind, and this has been going on for more than 1,000 years. So other people who have had the wrong teachings from abroad criticize this as something that is not good. This should not be left alone. This chanting in our lives, we need to make it our own in our society, in our daily lives. We need to develop this as a new one and become part of our society and daily lives even further. Over the past 80 years, we have been saying that something we have been adopted from overseas is great, but that time is over. It's now time for us to create and make our own meditation. The second is Ganhwasan. So when we talk about Ganhwasan, some people think that it is old, it is outaged. Who says that? Those kind of people brought in what it has been created foreign countries and think that it's our own. Why can't they not see the genuinity of the Korea's own chanting and meditation. It is because of their selfishness. Am I speaking too harsh? So I have mentioned earlier that I will be criticizing a bit today. So, hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Can you please answer? So, what is answering? So, making questions is 간화선. So, whenever you have a thinking, let's repeat together. What is it we are thinking? If there is an endless set of thoughts, we have a headache. It is because there are so many thoughts in the head. So Aaron Beck has said that the thoughts create depression. Thus, thoughts create stress at work, and the stress create uncertainty. And if you stop thinking, and what do you do to stay away from this thinking? You need to realize and think what you are thinking. What is it that you're thinking about? Let's repeat together. If you do that, you can stay away from the thoughts. If you have too many things and that you're thinking about, and you have so many thoughts in the head that you cannot sleep, if the moment you ask question to yourself that what is it that I am thinking, you will be able to stay away from the thoughts and to stay away from the depression and the insecurities. Ask the person next to you, what is it that you're thinking? So please close your eyes and say it again. Breathe in, breathe out, and say, what is it that you are thinking? What is it that I am thinking? What is it that we are thinking? Good. I do hope that you can practice on your way back home. You can open your eyes now. So if a person is swept in thoughts, and if the moment you ask what it is that you are thinking, you can get away from the thoughts, and you can get away from this pond of thoughts. This is the healing function of the 간화선. So please try. This has been going on for thousands of years since the later times of the Goryeo dynasty. So our ancestors have been practicing this type of meditation for thousands of years. This is the meditation that has kept our mental health healthy. This is the very tool that kept us healthy. So there's a lot of people who are learning Vipassana and just ignoring what is ours. However, it is now time for us to be proud of what we have, and we are at a time where we need to develop our own meditation. So I do hope that we can all cheer up. And now I will go over the differences between the northern Buddhism and the southern Buddhism. Then people ask where's the difference between meditation and 간화선. So I would like to give a brief explanation about this and then move on. So the southern Buddhism is called jhana. Dhyana is called the southern Buddhism, and which is translated as sun. So the na has been eliminated and became sun. In Japanese, it became zen, and in Chinese, it became chan. So where this came from China to Korea. So this was in Shilla dynasty, Goryeo dynasty, and Joseon dynasty. It's a term that has been used since then. However, ever since Korea was liberated, the jhana and dhyana became translated as meditation in English. When you translate meditation into Korean, it is called 명상. The meditation in English is an American culture. it is from American culture term, and it is a marine culture because it came over the ocean. However, the origin of these words are the same. However, what we used before is sun, and the meditation that came from the ocean is called 명상 or meditation. So the meditation and the sun is practically the same word. However, ever since Korea was liberalized from the colonial rule, the road to the northern part has been blocked. Therefore, we cannot exchange with the northern part. So we had no choice but to exchange with the ocean, and that is the meditation that came overseas. So the generation before Venerable Ingyam, if they say that we do the meditation, isn't it that you are meditating something that is not appropriate? This is something that I've actually heard before. So the elderly have been criticizing me that for doing it because they thought that it is unnecessary to have sun at the center. That is why the Dongguk University also has a department regarding sun, and this has been used since the Japanese colonial rule. However, since 2000, the meditation has emerged, and therefore there have been many departments regarding meditation psychology, and meditation analytics. So what is Dongguk University doing about this? So there's been a lot of criticism directly towards Dongguk University and has been under a lot of pressure. So the meditation expo that Dongguk University is doing, I think it is very great. Then meditation and Kanasan, there's a difference. Let's look at the screen. In the Southern Buddhism is focusing on the sufferings. And if you look on the bottom, you can see that the Northern Buddhism, the Mahana Buddhism, you can see that it is about Kanhwasan. It is about the three marks of existence. So it shows whether it is Buddhism or not. And the Southern Buddhism is different because the Northern Buddhism has the Nirvana. So the health here is passive health. The Nirvana is what brings the calmness to the mind, bringing enlightenment and leading to positive health. So the Northern Buddhism pursues positive health. The Southern Buddhism focuses on eliminating the sufferings. So since the past, the Southern Buddhism had a very passive aspect. And on the other hand, the Mahana Buddhism pursues positive health. Therefore, it pursues the awareness and the mindfulness, and therefore it falls under positive health. And therefore, the mind is very large and the scope is very large here. So let's say that there's a cloud in the sky. The cloud is something that is uncertainty and something that's depressing. Even if this is if it disappears, doesn't mean that you're healthy. If the sky has no clouds, if it's clear, and people are filled with joy, do you really say that it's a true health? Then what is true health? There's no such thing. You should not pursue what is actually positive, what is actually good or bad, but we should pursue something that is more positive. That is what we say is the nature of the enlightenment. That is what we call the self-nature, the essence, and the mind of nature and the Dharma nature. So the mind nature is comprised of the cleanness, purity, happiness, and delightfulness. So there are some differences between these two types of meditation.
Then what should we do? What's the difference of the Ganasana and meditation? Meditation the Theravada Buddhism observed the four foundation of mindfulness, that is body, feeling, mind, phenomenon. So avoiding suffering and defilement is the ultimate aim. When you teach children, you say, don't do that, go away. Don't do that, go away. It's the same. So Theravada Buddhism says that go away from, avoid the negative things, because push away the negative things and go away. Then how about Mahayana Buddhism? It pursues positive health. Be happy. Smile at the person sitting next to you. So Mahayana Buddhism says smile, and also it is like clapping to the person sitting next to you. So it also claims that you should feel it. This is positive health, and this is what Mahayana Buddhism aim for. Time flies, so I've got one more thing left. Raise your shoulders and stretch your arms and put down them. This time, push your shoulders back and feel the tension and pain in your body. Now the tension has gone. Once again, repeat after me. The arising of feeling, the staying of the feeling, and passing away of feeling. So raise your two hands, two arms, and feel the arising of feeling. And then you feel the feeling, and now the feeling has disappeared. This is positive in a narrow sense. Then, for the good health and happiness, what should we do? We should observe what is this feeling and where has it gone. We have to question ourselves. Then you can feel the happiness from enlightenment and self-reflection, which will transform your life. Be joyful and live your life in more active way. And now I'm concluding my lecture.
네,
Thank you.
감사합니다. 임경수님과 함께 호흡도 해보고 어깨도
We
좁혀보면서
did
체험과
breath
함께하는 명상
meditation
강연 참 좋았는데요.
and those other things, and
Q&A
it was a
세션을
really
통해서
great time.
궁금증을
And now
풀어보도록
Q&A
하겠습니다.
session.
질문이 있으셔서 답변이 필요합니다, 스님.
We have
일단
questions
첫 번째
that you
질문인데요.
answer.
우리가
The first question
일상에서
is that
방선 수행을 통해 스트레스로부터 편안해지려고 하면 어떻게 하는 것이 가장
what is the best
좋을까요?
way
라고 질문이
if we
왔습니다.
want to relieve stress through constant practice in daily life?
생각이 우리를 힘들게 해요. 제가
Thoughts make us troubles. I've been studying meditation. I've been studying psychology from early time.
생각이 우리를 우울하게 만들어요.
As I told you before, thinking is what makes us trouble, and the positive thinkings make us lifted. 90% of our thoughts are negative, so we are always depressed. Then how can you stop these negative thoughts?
수억겁 내로 내려오는 이 DNA에 의해서 조정당하고 있는
We are controlled by this DNA, which have been passed on from thousands of years and millions of years. How can we stop the thoughts? We need thoughts to adapt to this word. So in Kwanazan practice, we ask question, what is this that is thinking? Repeat after me. What is this thing that generates thoughts? You are doing a good job. This question is proof that you've been paying attention to my lecture. Breathe in and breathe out. When you breathe out, ask, what is this? How do you feel? Breathe in. And what is this that is thinking? At least while you are asking this question, you are not lost. At least the depressing thought like I'm a loser, I'm a trash, there's nothing I can do. Then when this thought comes like habitually, then you are aware of this thought and breathe in and breathe out and ask this question, what is this that generated thinking? Try it. Breathe in and breathe out and ask, what is this? At least the moment you are asking this question, how is your mind? How do you feel? If you feel peaceful, raise your hand. If you think that you got out of thinking habit, then raise your hand. That was 2/3 of the audience. You've been doing great.
감사합니다.
그다음에 두 번째, 세 번째 질문이 저도 사전에 받았는데
I already received the second and third questions, but I don't like the ask question. How about let the audience ask a question directly?
직접적으로 던지시고
So,
싶은 분.
is there anyone who have a question to Venerable 임경수님?
오늘 강의 들으면서 궁금한 거나
Is there anything that you want to know about today's topic? So please bring the mic
파란 옷 입으시고 손 드신 분
to the audience.
주시면 됩니다.
Hello. It is an honor for me to have this to listen to your lecture. When you explained about meditation, you mentioned sati and vipassana and the insight meditation. So I want to know the difference between sati meditation and insight meditation. That was a good question. Have you ever taken a photo? Take out your mobile phone and take a photo.
뭐 사진 찍으라니까 저를 찍을 수도 있어요.
You can take a picture of me. It sounds like I am asking you to take a picture of me.
사진 찍을 때 제일 먼저 해야 할 게 뭐예요?
The first thing you have to do when you take a photo, what is it?
제일 먼저 해야
The first thing you have to do when taking a picture.
뭘 찍어야 할지 대상을 포착.
So you have to recognize the object you want to take a picture of. So this is called sati. So you have to decide the object and be aware of it. So selecting the object is sati. The second is yes. You have to focus. You have to
전통적으로는 멈출지, 그칠지, 멈을지 그래서 지로
in Korean we call it
어떤 대상을 위해
stopping. We call it ji, which means stopping, and this original term is samatha. So that is focusing your lens onto the object. So you have to fix the focus of the lens on the lens. So this is concentration practice. So you have to be aware. You have to put mindfulness on the you have to be aware, you have to be mindful first, then you need concentration. But the third thing you have to do when you take a picture,
어떻게 해야 돼요? 구도라든가 정확한 색깔이라든가 이런 것들을
you have to check,
관찰을 해서
you have to observe the colors and the color,
네,
and then
구체적인
decide
비유를
how
통해서
to
아주
take a
효과적으로
picture.
설명을 해주신 우리 임경수님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
So give him a big round of applause who explained very deliberately to the answer.
모양을 맞추어서
So Vipassana,
찍어야 되는 거예요.
it's like take a picture constantly with awareness. That is called Vipassana.
네, 멋진 강연 답변 다시 한 번 더
Thank you
감사드립니다.
for
감사합니다.
Interesting lecture.
네, 이제 세 번째
Now
강연으로
we are
넘어가겠습니다.
moving on to the
국제
third
마하야나 보디야티
lecture.
불교학교 지도자이시다. 명상과 마음 챙김을 위한 지혜
Next, we'll
계층센터
have a lecture on the
연구원장이신
topic
에도
Meditation
쇼닝님께서
and the Essence of Buddhist
명상과
Teaching
불법의
by
핵심이란
Dr. Edo
주제로
Shonin,
강연을
the Research
해주시겠습니다.
Director of the Wake to Reason
박사님께서는
Center
지금
for Meditation
온라인상에서 여러분들을
Mindfulness
기다리고
Research,
계시는데요.
Spiritual Director of the International
인사하도록
Mahayana
하겠습니다.
Buddhist
Hello,
School of
Dr. Edo
Buddhism.
Shonin.
Dr. Edo Shonin is
Hello.
already online.
Doctor, hello everyone.
Hello,
My
how
name
are
is
you?
모두 안녕하십니까?
very well. My name is Edo Shonin. I am the director of Awake to Wisdom, the Center for Meditation and Mindfulness Research. I'm going to talk to you today about meditation and the essence of Buddhist teachings.
Okay, thank you for your intro, and then you may begin your presentation now.
Thank you very much. So I'll give you an overview of what we're going to talk about today. Knowing how to assimilate teachings on meditation, we're going to then look at an integrative approach to meditation. This, for me, is very, very important.
아시다시피 지금 커뮤니케이션 못 하고요. 지금 채팅방이나 좀 활용이 안
We
되시면
are then going to look at the first teaching that the Buddha gave, which is the Four Noble Truths. And we're going to unpack that a little bit so that we understand better what it actually means. We're then going to look at pain and suffering and finding a balance on the path of meditation. Then we're going to look very, very briefly at karma and conditioning. But before we begin, I would like to share a quote with you, a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. You see, meditation is actually a journey within. And the quote is, what lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. Let me just rephrase that a little bit. So what lies in the past and what lies in the future pales in comparison to what lies in the here and now within you. Before we begin talking about meditation, I would like just to say that the person who wishes to practice meditation really has to understand a little about the mind and how wild it actually is. So, when we're first born, we have like one piece of straw, that is the mind, and we hold it in a circle. And as our parents begin to condition us, they begin to teach us, we take that information like another piece of straw and we put it into that circle, the mind. And at first, as we're growing older, we manage to put all of these concepts, ideas, all of this information into that circle and keep it quite well organized. Essentially, when we are babies, our mind is rather vast. But as we grow older, the information comes in quicker and quicker and quicker. And we can't keep that organization. Our mind takes over and we become a little bit knotted up. All of this conditioning, all of these thoughts, thought processes, they all get into a little bit of a muddle. And Then we go to school, we have our peer groups that condition us, we have our teachers, still our parents, and everything and everyone that we come across. And we end up with a bundle of straw on top of our shoulders. And everything we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, we do so through that bundle of conditioning. So we don't see, hear, smell, taste, and touch things exactly as they are. What we should do, and what meditation will help us to do, is actually throw that conditioning away. Practicing meditation is a process of letting go. It's very, very important to let go, to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch things exactly as they are, without the interference of the mind. We have to essentially become the right type of vessel. I'll explain that a little bit. We have to be completely natural. To give you an example, I was facilitating a retreat in Sri Lanka, and the first morning that all the participants came to meditation, they were sitting on the floor, their backs were absolutely rigidly straight, and they were all terribly, terribly serious. So I asked them actually to go home, to go back to their rooms, and I'll meet them tomorrow morning when they are more relaxed and when they are less serious, because this practice is enjoyable, it's fun. It has to be. That has to be our attitude when we are practicing meditation. It's rather like finding a balance, as if you had a stringed instrument like a guitar or a violin. So if you tighten the string too much, the instrument will not work. If you leave the string too slack, again, the instrument simply will not work. So the strings have to be at the exact balanced tension, and that way the instrument will work correctly. We have to become the right type of vessel. So, to give you an example of this, there are people who are easily distracted, for example. They don't pay attention. So that's rather like having a vessel or a pot, if you will, that's upside down. If we try to pour water into the pot that's upside down, of course, nothing will go in. There are people who easily forget. They simply don't listen, and they certainly don't reflect. That's rather like having a pot with holes in it. So we pour the water into the pot, but the water just escapes through the holes. So all the knowledge that we're giving does not stay there. And this is the worst group of people, I believe. The people who think and believe that they know everything already. That's rather like a vessel with poison in it. And if we pour water into that vessel, then it will become contaminated. So the first lesson really of meditation is let go of any preconceived ideas, let go of all concepts that you think you know. You have to adopt an integrative approach to practice meditation. Meditation, as I'm sure you all know, makes part of the Eightfold Path. And we have to practice all of the Eightfold Path, not just one aspect, for example, mindfulness. That is not enough. Practice all of the Eightfold Path, each phase of the Eightfold Path simultaneously. These are, I've written an awful lot about the process of meditation. I've just brought along a couple of papers that you could read later if you wish. You can download these from academia or somewhere. They're free of charge. The first one is Contemplative Psychology, its history, key assumptions, and future directions. The second that I brought along is the emerging role of Buddhism in clinical psychology towards effective integration. So we really do have to adopt an integrative approach to practicing meditation. I use the term practicing meditation, and it's actually a little bit of a dangerous concept to practice because we're separating it from our daily life, essentially. We actually have to become meditation. We have to sit meditatively, walk meditatively, talk meditatively, eat meditatively. This is a way of life. It is not a practice. Obviously, to get really interested, to get into the process, sure, we start with a practice, but don't make it a habit. It's really very, very important. So the research within psychology, the research of meditation, we can divide it into three phases, basically. Phase one began round about the 1980s, exploring mindfulness and related meditative attentional processes. Phase two, round about the year 2000, research started to explore contemplative approaches concerned with empathetic and ethical awareness, such as compassion meditation and loving kindness meditation. And phase three, maybe around about the last 6 or 7 years, the research has explored wisdom-based contemplative practices, including the practice of emptiness. This actually is the Trishiksha training, the 3 trainings. This is a principle of Buddhism. So it's based on meditation, ethics, and wisdom. And this threefold categorization also corresponds to the chronological order that research into and the subsequent implementation of contemplative approaches has followed. I, along with colleague Dr. William Van Gordon, we began meditation awareness training. It's actually an intervention that we use, and the participants follow mindfulness, meditation, this is what they learn, contemplative principles, then there is a self-practice component. It's very important that they come to a class and then they leave the class after 8 weeks or however long it is, and then they stop practicing. So there has to be a self-practice component. And we also include one-to-one support sessions, sometimes about 2 one-to-one support sessions during an 8-week program. And this also is very important because, as I said, meditation is a journey and many obstacles can be met during that journey. So the people require a one-to-one session with teachers so that they can understand better the obstacles that they have found. Let's look at this in a little bit more detail. This is actually the model of meditation awareness training. So we follow the same Trishiksha principle: meditation, ethical awareness, and wisdom. We'll look at that in a little bit of detail, shall we? So here is mindfulness at the top, the meditation section. So mindfulness, concentrative meditation, analytical meditation, and working those 3 together, we allow meditative insight to arise. This is very, very important. Mindfulness is rather like a guard. He guards that part of the mind that is flowing into meditation and assures that that part of the mind is never disturbed. The ethical awareness section is where we practice generosity, and I mean practice generosity. We practice compassion, loving kindness, joyful effort, and patience. But to do that, we require self-control. Now, let's look at self and the control of self. First of all, we have to find the self, yes? So, people tend to have many selves. For example, at home, there are certain selves. They act in a certain way, they talk in a certain way. At work, there are different selves. They act in a different way. They talk in a different manner. When they're out at the club with friends having a drink, again, they're a different self. So, if we have the power to create these different selves, we also have the power to dismantle those selves. And meditation is all about doing exactly that. Once we have dismantled those selves, we can actually create a self, if we wish, that is fluid and dynamic and that flows with us. We have to create, essentially, a communication between ourself and our mind. We have to work together, ourself and the mind. The wisdom section, we practice emptiness, view and intention. We practice understanding suffering, non-attachment, impermanence. Now, just to highlight this a little bit, I've taken suffering as an example. And in order to explain better the concept of suffering, I'm going to use the Buddha's first teaching on the Four Noble Truths, which is all about suffering. So let's unpack the Four Noble Truths. The first truth is that suffering exists. That's followed by the second noble truth. There is a cause to that suffering. The third noble truth is there is cessation of suffering, and this is rather important. The cessation of suffering actually negates the first noble truth. Suffering exists. The fourth noble truth is there is a path that leads to the cessation of suffering. Now let's unpack that a little bit so that we understand better, shall we? So, until we attain spiritual liberation, that's the third noble truth, we are going to suffer, the first noble truth. The only way to end this suffering is to walk the path, which is the fourth noble truth. And that path acts upon the causes of suffering, which is the second noble truth. So what the Buddha is talking about here is actually causality. It's logical. So all effects are the result of a cause. Therefore, the second and the fourth noble truths follow on logically from those that precede them. It's a logical process. So perhaps we could actually reduce those four noble truths to two noble truths. Because cause is implied, suffering exists. And liberation exists exactly the same way because cause is implied. I actually prefer liberation exists because it is far more optimistic. It's a very simple teaching, but it's also very, very profound. we will suffer for an indefinite period until such time that we choose, and that's very important, we make a choice to dedicate ourselves to spiritual growth in order to stop creating the causes of suffering. And the choice must be made by each and every individual person. I'm going to give you another choice here. Do you choose to allow your mind to live your life for you? Or do you choose to allow the minds of others to live your life for you? Or would you rather actually live your life together with a well-trained mind? I can't make those choices for you. Each person has to make their own choice. Life is full of choices. It's made up of choices. So let's say we're at a crossroads. We can go forward, backwards, left, or right. But the mind says, no, I don't want to make a choice. I'm going to sit in the middle. However, that is also a choice. Very simple. Life is made up of choices, how we choose to act in this moment. You could actually make this into a meditation practice. So when you're sitting calmly, quietly, you breathe in, you can say to yourself, whilst you breathe in, that suffering exists. And when you breathe out, you can say, however, so does liberation exist. You really have to break the chain of thought processes. Pain is with us throughout our lives. All types of pain, physical pain, emotional pain, all sorts of, we receive all sorts of pain. We have pain at work, we have pain at home, we cut a finger, maybe we have arthritis, cancer, or whatever. But pain is with us. Suffering, however, is optional. Suffering from that pain is absolutely optional. It is up to us. It's the suffering that is our anxiety, it's our worry and our panic that we add to the pain. Try not to resist the pain. It's resisting the pain that actually causes suffering. I talk with many, many people in hospital, people who have cancer, people who have various illnesses, and I do try to explain to them, if you want to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch everything through your pain, that is up to you. It is actually your choice. Try to let go of the pain, in a sense, embrace the pain, because you have it anyway. So you may as well continue to enjoy your life, even with the pain. I'm going to try to give you an example. In a sense, you have to change your outlook. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination a little bit here. So let's say you wake up in the morning, it's a gorgeous day, and you decide to go for a walk, maybe take a flask of tea, or maybe some cookies, flask of tea, have a small picnic or something. And you go for the walk. The sun is shining, it's rather beautiful, the birds are singing, you feel relaxed, you feel happy. Once you're sitting down, maybe you're having your tea or coffee or whatever. After an hour, in the beautiful sunshine, it really starts pouring down with rain. So what do? What does the mind do? It panics usually. So that's your first choice, okay? Your mind tells you you don't want to get wet. You pull the jacket over yourself. Your shoulders tighten up. You get very tense, and you start running. You start rushing. you're not thinking about anything at all except for getting wet. So the water is running down into your underwear, it's running down your socks, into your shoes, and all you can think of is, I am really getting soaked. So that's your first choice. However, you can change perspective quite easily. You're going to get wet anyway, so you breathe and you relax. You continue to walk. You continue your journey home. Sure, you get home, you're soaking wet, and you have a hot bath, you have a hot shower, you have a hot cup of tea, a hot cup of soup or something. Do not resist the rain. If you do resist the rain, then you will suffer. So relax, breathe, enjoy it. Enjoy. When you go to take a shower in the morning, actually, I'll start that again. When you wake up in the morning, stop, relax, put your feet down onto the floor and breathe. Know that you are breathing. Walk to the shower and enjoy every single drop of water that's falling on you. See if you can perceive. See what your mind is feeling. Notice it. Be aware of it. Enjoy your life. Walk downstairs slowly, gently. Know or be aware that you are walking downstairs. Sit and have your coffee or have your breakfast, but enjoy your breakfast gently. Be aware of the fact that you're eating. Actually taste what you are eating and enjoy it. Change your perspective. Break the chain. It is very, very important. Try to observe your feelings exactly as they are. This is very important. Your feelings are not dictators, they are indicators, okay? So some feelings can be pleasant, some will be unpleasant, even painful. Some feelings will be absolutely neutral, okay? The person who does not meditate clings to that which is pleasant and rejects that which is unpleasant. I always ask the question, why? Why do you cling to that? Because it's pleasant. Is it really? That's only your thought. That's only your feeling. So try to observe feelings. The person who meditates is free of ego. This is very, very important. We have to not attach the I, the me, and the mine, okay? No longer my feelings. They're simply feelings, okay? The person who practices meditation pays complete mindful attention to that which is pleasant, pays complete mindful attention to that which is unpleasant, and complete mindful attention to that which is completely neutral. So the person who practices meditation remains unperturbed, in unperturbed equipoise. And it's the practice of mindfulness which allows that process to evolve. So sit meditatively, as I've said before, walk meditatively, allow mindfulness to show you the route. We practice mindfulness, which will allow us to enter into concentrative meditation, and we practice concentrative meditation to allow analytical meditation to arise, and we practice mindfulness, concentrative meditation, analytical meditation to allow insight to arise. we start to understand that the primary feelings arise out of conditioning. We do not control them. They're simply there. But you have to remember that feelings do not define who we are. They are simply part of the weather of our internal world. And we simply observe those feelings exactly as they are. We don't add to them, and we do not subtract from them. Don't worry about the feelings. Just let them be. Become familiar with their arising, become familiar with their leaving, because all things are impermanent, including feelings. They are simply a flow of experiences. Where is the self in all of that? There's no attachment to I, me, or mine. It's our mind that puts that attachment there. We tend to get sucked into the drama of our secondary thought processes. We panic, we worry about the primary feelings. However, feeling worried or anxious, that's perfectly okay. That's fine. You just observe that feeling. Feelings are simply that, feelings. Worrying about worrying, now that really becomes a problem. Or getting angry with ourselves because we're angry, that really is a problem, okay? We use our primary emotions as a rifle that shoots us into a vicious cycle. We have to break that chain. It is very important. Feelings are born. Just as the body is born, the body lives, and the body will die. Feelings are also born. They live. And if we allow them, they will die. There is the problem with many people. We tend to cling on to certain feelings. People who have pain cling on to the pain that they have. And after a very short period of time, they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch everything through that pain. So just observe the feelings, allow them to be born, allow them to live, and allow them to die. We investigate the impermanent nature of feelings. So allow the feelings to be impermanent. This is very important. Impermanent makes part of the wisdom structure, and it's something that we really have to practice. Do not chase after the feelings. Observe them. Observe the causes of those feelings. Observe the conditions of those feelings. We use intelligence to penetrate and dismantle feelings. We observe pleasure and suffering arise. We observe pleasure and suffering dissolve. So really try to do that. Try to let go. All things, absolutely everything in the universe is impermanent. If you look at where we live, look at the earth, and you're all, from the time you're a little person and you grow up, you always see a mountain, for example, and you think it never changes. That is wrong. It's always changing, and you are always changing every moment of every day. So let's allow that change to happen. Okay, to conclude, I'm just going to look briefly at karma and conditioning. So I spoke about conditioning at the very beginning. Karma is a Sanskrit word. It actually means action. Action in this moment, now, here and now. It's action that is driven by intention. And intention is very, very important. right intention or right thought. That is the most important thing to bear in mind. Actions, all actions, lead to consequences. And there are three types of action. Action of body, action of speech, and action of mind. So, karma influences our perception of time. So I'm going to, again, ask you a question. So, does the past actually exist? No, it doesn't. Does the future actually exist? No, it doesn't. So, because the present moment is dependent on past and future, both of which do not exist, does the present moment exist? That is something to think of. All we have today is the present moment. What is your present moment? How are you acting in this present moment? So, let me just explain this a little bit further. Let's say you made a mistake at work and your boss is absolutely furious with you. He's standing in front of you and he's shouting at you. Your mind takes hold. It either wants to crawl away and not have this onslaught, or perhaps your mind decides what I did was correct and begins to shout, creating a conflict. Instead, what you really have to do is be meditative. You have to step back, you have to relax, step back also mentally. You have to relax, you have to focus on your breath, and then you can act. Do not allow the mind to react to the situation, because it will react through its conditioning. I do hope you have enjoyed this. Karma can only be experienced now. It's not something in the past. I hear lots of people who have pain saying, I must have done something wrong in the past. This is not the correct viewpoint. You have to experience. Karma is experience. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have found it interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your enlightening lecture. We have collected some questions for you. 본 강연을 위해 저희가 사전 등록 시 궁금한 사항을 미리 받아두었었는데요. 에도쇼님 박사님께 제가 대신해서 여쭙도록 하겠습니다. Okay, let's start with the first question. You mentioned exploring wisdom-based contemplative practices, including emptiness. So how could we apply them to our daily lives here?
Well, I already talked about suffering, which makes part of the wisdom process. So understanding suffering, the best way to practice this in everyday life is actually to put it into practice. For instance, impermanence, understand that you are born, you live, and you will one day die. So that part in the middle, life, is really precious. It's very, very precious, and we should really enjoy it. We should relax within that life, knowing that one day we will have to leave. So let's say a married couple, they will enjoy themselves much more together if they understand that their life is impermanent. Okay? Does that make any sense? Do you understand that? Practicing non-attachment. So, sure, love your wife, but don't necessarily be attached to your wife. Does that make sense? Understand that all things, absolutely everything, is empty of inherent existence. All things are linked together, okay? Everything is working together. For instance, I am here now, and the audience, you are here now. If one of you was not here, then this now would not exist. So that's really putting it into practice. The best way to put this into practice in daily life is understanding that impermanence, non-attachment, suffering, emptiness, view, and intention, they all can be put into practice in every moment, every day.
Okay, thank you. So practice makes perfect in terms of meditation as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. May I just say something here?
Sure.
Meditation is not a practice. I have to ask people to become meditation. So sure, at first, at the beginning, when we're starting, it is a practice. So, but if you make it a practice, if you actually label it a practice and you make it a practice, let's say you get up in the morning at 7 o'clock and the first thing you do is you do 30 minutes of meditation. That becomes a habit. Does that make sense? So do not make meditation a habit. Make it a way of life.
Yes, not practice, but a way of life. So I put meditation as an integral part of my life, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, great. Okay, so we'll move on to the second question.
Yes.
Could you provide further elaboration on the concentrative meditation, analytical meditation, and meditative insight, including their definition and practical examples?
Okay, so you start the meditative process by applying mindfulness, so being mindful. That is, let me give you an example here. Let's say you're washing the car, okay? Washing the car. You physically are washing the car, but where is your mind? Your mind is probably thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. It's possibly thinking about what you're going to watch on the television, and so on and so forth. Your mind is not present with you. So mindfulness is the beginning structure, and we have to allow mindfulness to guard the rest of the mind. So when we see our minds rushing away doing its own thing, we gently bring the mind back to this present moment. And once we have developed, or once we feel settled within mindfulness, we allow concentrative meditation to arise. And this is a necessary process. Once we are settled in concentrative meditation, so that is, we're like in a sitting room, there's only you and your breath, no thoughts, no feelings, no ideas, no preconceived ideas, just you and your breath. You bring your mind into concentration. Once you're settled there, you can then allow yourself to analyze. You allow analytical meditation to arise. So let's take a strong emotion such as anger or fear. Try asking the anger or fear exactly who they are. Who are you? What are you? Who made you? And the answer will often come back that actually, yeah, so-and-so said this to me, so it's made me angry. But actually anger will say to you, you made me. Also, you made me. So if you made me, you can unmake me. So we begin that process. Working these three together, that will allow meditative insight to arise. And that is incredibly individual. Okay?
Yes. So I remember the slide that all three concepts eventually leading to mindfulness state, right?
Eventually leading to, sorry?
Eventually they lead to mindfulness state, right?
No.
No.
Mindfulness is the guardian. working mindfulness together with concentrative meditation, allowing analytical meditation to arise, that will lead to meditative insight, and that's where you want to be.
Okay, thank you for your clarification. Okay.
More than welcome.
So due to time concern, we'll conclude the Q&A session here. So thank you again for sharing your time and expertise with us. It was a very insightful and enlightening lecture. Thank you again. Thank you very much. 네, 긴 시간 함께 해주시는 여러분들께도 감사의
Thank
말씀을
you all
드리며
for being with
이제
us
오늘의
for
마지막
this is
세션이
today's
준비되어
last
있습니다.
session.
피터 하비 교수님께서 사만타 개발을 위한 호흡의 활용, 평온을 잃지
It is a
않는 마음이란 주제로
recorded
영상을
lecture by Peter
보내주셨습니다.
Harvey on the
함께
topic of working
만나보시죠.
with the breath to develop samatha, a calm-centered mind. Let's
And
invite
very
him on the
pleased
stage.
to be virtually with you
would
today.
like-
We'll be talking on working with the breath to develop samatha, a calm, centered mind. The Theravada Buddhist tradition of Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia has a long and rich meditative tradition. It has two broad and interacting streams that focus respectively on samatha, which means calm, tranquility, inner peace, and vipassana, direct insight. It is said that both samatha and vipassana are aspects of liberating knowledge. So the quote here is, when samatha is cultivated, the heart mind, citta, is developed, leading to abandonment of attachment or lusting after, raga. If vipassana is cultivated, wisdom is developed, leading to the abandonment of spiritual ignorance, avidya. Spiritual ignorance one can see as a kind of ingrained misperception of things. So in this quote, one can see that the spiritual path involves work on both the affective feeling aspect of the mind and the cognitive aspect of the mind, knowing aspect. Attachment-rooted emotional reactions for and against things and how one sees and understands things, respectively. So these are interrelated, for emotional turbulence makes it difficult to understand clearly, and confusion and misperception feeds emotional turbulence. Working together, samatha and vipassana bring about a state in which direct knowledge can arise in a calm, clear, peaceful mind. It's said that one can develop calm, then insight, or insight, then calm, both together, or insight with minimal calm. And this fourth approach came to be known as dry insight, a trend which became popular in Myanmar or Burma from the 1950s and spread to other Theravada countries, weakening a previous rich samatha tradition. This trend is now starting to be rebalanced. An important quality in both samatha and vipassana is sati, mindfulness. Buddhism is perhaps unique in its emphasis on this quality, mindfulness, though in recent years, aspects of it have been taken up in mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. The second of these secular therapies has been recognised by the UK National Health Service as an effective means to prevent people who have suffered from depression from relapsing back into it by being drawn into negative thought patterns. So if you like, mindfulness has become more well-known and more generally culturally popular, even in the West. Buddhism sees mindfulness as a crucial aspect of the process of meditatively calming down and waking up, so as to see things as they really are. Both of these help us to reduce the suffering that we inflict on ourselves and on others. As is said by the Buddha in the discourse on the applications of mindfulness, the Satipatthana Sutta, mindfulness is, quote, the direct path for the purification of beings, the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the ending of pain and unhappiness, the acquiring of the true method, and for experiencing nirvana. Nirvana loosely being the end of greed, hatred, and delusion. To be mindful is to be clearly aware of what is experienced in the present moment, being present with and paying careful attention to the wondrous flow of here, now. And when we stand back from and alertly take stock of what we are thinking, feeling, and doing, this allows things to naturally calm down. We are then open to experiencing a dropping away of normal mental horizons and limitations with perhaps a kind of timeless presence and with feelings of happiness and ease. As we become more mindful, we tend to more easily notice simple natural events in the environment, such as a leaf gently falling to the ground, or ripples on the surface of a river or pool, or a trickle of rain running down a car windscreen while you're waiting in traffic. Mindful observation of these can allow a natural delight to arise. Mindfulness is mindfulness, full presence of mind, alert attention, mental clarity, being wide awake, fully with it, vigilant, not on autopilot. During a normal day, much of the time we are operating on automatic pilot, involved in habitual reactions and thought patterns. But when mindfulness arises, we are more alive and alert. Something switches on that was previously inactive. Mindfulness is a thorough observation. It is not careless in its watchfulness. It sees things as they are, without overlooking aspects of them or projecting things onto them. It is also disinterested and non-judgmental, observing without reacting for or against, sometimes described as a kind of bare attention that simply notes and registers what's going on, a full awareness of what is happening in and to us as it happens. The aspect of mindfulness emphasized in secular or non-religious mindfulness. Mindfulness also has an aspect of memory to it. It remembers what one is supposed to be attending to so that one does not float away from it. And if the mind has wandered off, it reminds one to return to the focus of meditation. It is also used when one has undistorted memory of a past experience, especially of meditative experience and its beneficial qualities, so as to not lose one's connection to these. And if you mindfully recollect a good meditative state of mind, it helps bring it alive into the present again. The important fruit of mindfulness is that it conduces to a simple, natural, non-habitual state in which things tend to flow better. If you have a good meditation practice in the morning, your day tends to go better. You connect things more easily. In particular, mindfulness of breathing takes a look at something seemingly very ordinary, always under one's nose. It is a steady watching and clear awareness of a smooth breath, particularly noting its length and clearly noting the flow of sensations and related feelings. This allows one to feel what it is actually like, rather than just thinking about it, as if feeling it for the first time. Its quality of careful observation helps one not be confused about the breath, and its quality of alertness prevents switching off from the mind into a dull, staring attitude, which you sometimes get if you're reading and you get a bit tired. You stop kind of taking in what your eyes are seeing. So you need to keep alert with it, connected. Mindfulness remembers that the aim is to stay with the breath in the present moment. So it guards against losing concentration and switching away from the breath, wandering away into the past, the future, daydreams, worries, sleepiness. So mindfulness helps you keep with it now. It carefully notices when attention nevertheless wanders onto various other things, so that it can be gently brought back to the breath, so as to again mindfully feel it and know where one is in the process. If annoyance arises in the mind, whether directed at one's own wandering mind, external noises, or the people making the noises, mindfulness recognizes this, but helps one step back from involvement in the irritation, so that one can let go of it and return properly to the breath. The same applies, for example, with anxiety about, am I doing this meditation right? Oh, I'm not doing it right. Just come back to the breath. Don't go down that road. Once the slow, steady breathing has been established, mindfulness observes it without interference, so that one can let the breath be and not be anxious as one nears the end of the in-breath about when the out-breath will start, or vice versa. It will happen naturally. When one has finished a meditation sit, it is good to mindfully recollect how it went. Mindfulness can also be used during the day, either to periodically notice what the breath is doing and how the mind is reacting. One can pause to check out how one feels, feelings one's contact with the ground through the feet, or what you're sitting on, noticing any tensions in the body, then noting one's emotional state. Mindfulness is a patient, kindly observation. It gives space for things to be what they are and then to gradually change and pass. This is very helpful in the day when applied, for example, when one feels low or irritated or worried or afraid. It helps one to acknowledge these states, but then let go of them. This is especially so when one does a few long, slow breaths, thinking, for example, breathing in long, there is irritation. Breathing out long, there is irritation. This is different from breathing in long, I am irritated. Breathing out long, I am irritated. So the first way is much more calming, helps you step back. So say a little bit about vipassana, or insight meditation. In this kind of meditation, mindfulness is applied especially to noticing what are called the 3 marks of conditioned existence, which are that anything mental or physical is anicca, meaning impermanent, changing, fluctuating, arising and passing away, unstable. Secondly, dukkha, mentally or physically painful, whether in an obvious, subtle, or very subtle way. Stressful, unsatisfactory, not quite what one wants it to be. The range of dukkha is very broad. Physical dukkha, bad toothache. Mental dukkha, you're walking along a pavement and there's a group of people walking in front of you rather slowly and you want to get past them. And you experience a little bit of inattention because of that. That's dukkha too. The third characteristic, anatta, non-self, meaning not a permanent essential self or its possession. It is empty of self or what pertains to self. It is not I, me, or mine in anything but a partial and changing way. So anything that we normally experience in body or mind has those characteristics. The unconditioned nirvana, though, is seen as going beyond change and time, beyond impermanence, and beyond dukkha, but it's still non-self, has nothing to do with a sense of I or me in it. And then we have samatha, calm meditation, which I'm mainly going to talk about. In samatha meditation, mindfulness is combined with a state of strong concentration or gatheredness, focusing mainly on a specific meditation object, such as the breath, though this can be used also as a calming anchor in insight meditation to come back to periodically. So concentration, samadhi, can also translate it mental unification. People's normal experience of concentration usually varies from a half-hearted paying attention to becoming absorbed in a good book, when most extraneous mental chatter does subside. Buddhist meditation, in common with many other forms of meditation, such as Hindu yoga, aims to gradually cultivate the power of concentration till it can become truly one-pointed, with the attention wholly gathered on a chosen calming object. In such a state, the mind becomes free from all distractions and wavering, and in a unified state of inner stillness, mental unification. In meditation, concentration refers not so much to the gentle effort of concentrating, though this is also needed, but to the state or states of mental unification that this leads to, similar to a chemical substance having been concentrated into what's called a concentrate, a more concentrated form of it. This kind of concentrated mental state arises when the mind's energies are gathered due to an engaging interest in a focus of attention, when one is undistractedly happy to calmly stay with that focus. Concentration yokes the mind onto an object or project, be this good or bad or indifferent. We use it all the time in life. It's a state of being focused, whatever the level of one's alertness or awareness, mindfulness. It is possible to be very focused but not be very mindful. And there's a story of Sir Isaac Newton, who once boiled his watch instead of an egg because he was concentrating on some intellectual issue. So it's possible to be very concentrated but not mindful, which isn't a good state. It's also possible to be very mindful without necessarily focusing in on any one object. Though if there is good mindfulness, this makes concentration easier. So that's why samatha uses both. When concentration is combined with mindfulness and focused on a simple object such as a breath, it becomes right concentration and integrates the mind's energies so as to bring about mental stillness, tranquility, and peace, a quiet yet positive state of mind. Right concentration is, I'll just put the next screen on. Right concentration is wholesome one-pointedness of mind, a wholesome state of mind steadily focused on a calming object. It's an intensified steadiness of mind, a state where the mind is like a clear flame burning in a windless place, or the surface of a clear, undisturbed lake. I put this on the screen because it kind of gives the impression of really focusing, gathering. There's a state of steady focus, mental composure and stillness, which unifies and harmonizes the mind's energies. As when a class of children are all intently listening to a good teacher, not fidgeting or looking out of the window. So that gathered classroom is like a gathered mental state. It is experienced as a state of tranquility and clarity. It comes about when there is a state of happiness that allows the mind to contentedly stay on the object as one has developed a natural interest in it. So now, mindfulness and concentration together. In samatha meditation on the breathing, mindfulness establishes a link between the mind and the breath, knowing its length and how it feels, while concentration is a state of being well focused on the sensations known by mindfulness, initially aided by some form of counting the breath. At any time in meditation, mindfulness will give awareness of the following: the length of the breath, its speed, smoothness, and whether it's an in or out breath. Then the subtle sensations which arise along the path of the breath, and the subtle feelings that can come when one attends carefully to the flow of the body of breath. Then where one is in the process of the stages of meditation, and what one is supposed to be doing. And then aspects of the posture that may need retuning. You might start off with a good posture, but then after a little bit, kind of just slump a little bit to straighten up. And also being mindful of whether the mind has wandered. Concentration in the meditation is the quality of remaining generally focused, centered on the breath, hopefully including the sensations in a particular part of the path of the breath as one scans along it. At first, this is particularly aided by attention to the numbers one is counting as one breathes. The counting aids both mindfulness and concentration. When the mind wanders, this is because, first of all, mindfulness slips and one forgets what one is supposed to be doing. Concentration is then lost as the mind becomes distracted and loses its focus. If one then becomes involved in a long, wandering thought, there may be concentration on this, but no mindfulness. When one notices that the mind is not on the breath, this marks the return of mindfulness, which then allows one to re-establish awareness of the breath and then concentrate on it. The practice starts to work well when there's a balance of a high degree of both mindfulness and concentration, so as to bring about a state of alert stillness. Now, the 5 hindrances. In working to develop a mindful and focused state of mind, one must learn to deal with what are called the 5 hindrances, the nivarana. These are common human reactions that tend to hinder, obscure, and stultify the mind's potential for developing sustained, well-focused application to any task, including meditation. In their different ways, these hindrances are all expressions of the mind's constantly shifting, restless nature. They are limiting, restricting, ego-centered emotions which keep the mind or heart small, make it unworkable, brittle, hard to skillfully apply in a flowing way, and they kind of muffle mental lucidity or alertness. Hence it's said that they are, quote, makers of blindness, causing lack of vision, causing lack of knowledge, detrimental to wisdom, tending to vexation, leading away from nirvana. They are akin to a dirty or steamed up car windscreen that prevents a driver from seeing the road clearly and driving effectively and safely. And let's put on screen my attempt to, so to speak, draw the nature of each of these hindrances, give an impression of them. So the first of these is called desire for sense pleasures. So that's why I put in the middle the English word yum, 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 ooh, nice, ooh, I want some more of that. So desire for sense pleasures, sense experiences. This occurs when, during the attempt to develop sustained concentration, the mind does not want to be confined to the focus of concentration, such as the breath, but reaches out and is drawn away to more interesting objects of pleasure or a pleasant or alluring nature, such as a sexual image or a memory of a TV program, or simply the thought of the greater comfort that might come from moving your legs a little bit. In this way, the mind loses its calming focus, becomes colored by the process of desire. In the discourse of the Buddha, he said that this sense desire is like being in debt, when one feels that one owes the desired object attention, and so is pulled towards them. They have a hold on you. The second hindrance of ill will, which I put in here, I'm angry. This is where the mind reacts with aversion, discontent, or irritation. With the task at hand, with other people making a noise when you're trying to meditate, or with oneself for having difficulties with the task. The mind seeking to push something away or shrinking away from it. The Buddha said that this is like having an illness, which makes everything taste bitter. To an irritated mind, the world is an irritating place. You may remember sometimes when you got up in the morning, you're rather angry, irritated. Somebody may say something to you quite, okay, but it irritates you because of your state of mind. Third hindrance, dullness and drowsiness, or dullness and lethargy, as I put it again. This is a lack of mental and physical vigor, a sluggish state of inertia, the mind closing down, going into neutral, becoming like a piece of putty, which I tried to show on the screen, going into a passive blank gaze, rather than applying itself to the task at hand. It's said that dullness and lethargy is like being in jail. One is incarcerated or incarcerated in one's passive state, shut up in it, not engaged with any worthwhile activity. One gets nothing out of life. You don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, can't be bothered to do anything else. Sometimes one is like that oneself. Sometimes they're trying to encourage somebody to do something and they're too lazy to do anything. So it restricts you. The fourth hindrance, it's a kind of pair, restlessness and unease. I'll try to indicate this with to the up and the downswing, restlessness and unease. Here the mind fluctuates between two extremes. Firstly, an over-energized state of excitement in which interest in a task stimulates a flurried scattering of thoughts. And secondly, a low state of unease, worry or guilt in which there's lack of clarity and everything seems to be going wrong. This is a mind wavering up and down. A strong form of this is expressed in manic depression, perhaps. Restlessness and worry is said to be like being a slave, that is, being very dependent on what mood or frame of mind one happens to be in, being pulled between emotional highs and lows. So in that sense, you're not free. And then the last hindrance, fifth one, vacillation or fear of commitment. Here the mind wavers in a perplexed state, holding back from full commitment to the task of mental development, with facile doubts arising about one's own ability and the worthwhileness of meditation and its goals. Hence, it's sometimes translated as skeptical doubt. It's a state where the mind wavers back and forth, dithering, sitting on the fence, and backpedaling in a state of fear of commitment and fear of the unknown. Vacillation is said to be like turning back halfway through a journey. Just when one is starting to get somewhere, one starts thinking of all sorts of imaginary problems and reasons for not continuing. Yes, I think I'll turn back. In these various ways, unwholesome aspects of mind throw up barriers in the way of developing a calm, strong, clear state of mind. In effect, they are respectively the reactions of I want, I don't want, I can't be bothered. This is exciting, but I'm no good at it. And I'm not sure. We all experience the hindrances to varying extents, both in our ordinary life and in relation to meditation. They are universal patterns as real now as in Northeast India 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha identified them. We should learn to recognize them for what they are. There's no point in feeling guilty when they occur. Guilt is itself an aspect of the fourth hindrance. It agitates the mind and may also verge into ill will towards oneself. When you observe the arising of a state in yourself, one of these states in yourself that you can recognize as a hindrance or related to them, note this in a clear but light-hearted way, but resolve to try and avoid this kind of inept mental state in the future. After all, you can't force the mind to be calm. You have to coax it and help it along. By recognizing the hindrances and learning to undermine them, one can allow the calm stillness and brightness in the depth of the mind to shine through. One can indeed think of the hindrances as like 5 jammed doors that once open will allow through a flow of skillful energy. Or one can think of them as 5 weeds that when pulled out and rotted down and composted, one can release the energy trapped in them for more positive growth. Brightly shining mind. Favorite quote of mine from the early Buddhist text is as follows. Monks, this mind is brightly shining, abhasara in Pali, but it is defiled by visiting defilements. The uninstructed ordinary person does not understand this as it has come to be. So I say there is no meditative cultivation of the mind for the uninstructed ordinary person. Monks, this mind is brightly shining, but it is free from defilements which arrive. The instructed disciple of the noble ones understands this as it has come to be. So I say there is meditative cultivation of the mind for the instructed disciple of the noble ones. So this is the idea of a kind of background radiant purity of the mind. The hindrances are the main defilements of the basic nature of mind. They are akin to visitors to the mind. One might also see them as like 5 guests who come into your house but have overstayed their welcome. They have got their feet under the table, as we say in English, and think that they own the house of the mind which they are visiting. The task of the meditator is to recognize this and to invite them to leave, please, now. It's also like mice that one may have in one's house who manage to find little crumbs to feed on and so stay around. If there's nothing for them to be fed with, you don't give them any energy, these negative states will pass away, at least for a while. In the Theravada tradition, the commentator Buddha Gosa refers to this radiant mind as, quote, the naturally pure, latent resting state of mind. In the Mahayana traditions, much more is said of it, and it came to be equated with the Buddha nature, or embryonic Buddha within beings. I know this is an important concept in Son Buddhism. When unobscured by defilements, which meditation facilitates, lets the defilements fall away, the brightly shining basic nature of mind can be a basis for the attainment of liberating insight that leads to the experience of nirvana. Otherwise, defilements will in time return, maybe even get stronger, and various kinds of rebirth will follow. Though some of the bright heavenly realms are ones where defilements at least are weaker. The first jhana. Once the hindrances are suspended, then there follows, the following unfolds, leading to the first jhana, or meditative absorption. So, this is a quote. When one sees the 5 hindrances have been given up in oneself, gladness arises, kind of relief. And when one is glad, joy arises. When the mind is joyful, the body becomes tranquil. With a tranquil body, one experiences happiness. The mind of someone who is happy becomes concentrated. Being thus secluded from sense desires, secluded from unwholesome states, one enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is joy and happiness born of seclusion, accompanied by mental application and examining. One drenches, steeps, fills and pervades this very body with the joy and happiness born of seclusion, so there's no part of one's whole body that is untouched by this joy and happiness. So, this first jhana is a very pleasant, joyful state, undistracted by thoughts about the everyday world, or by any residual input from the 5 senses. The eyes will be closed, so no visual input. The mind is very concentrated, so any sounds are muffled or not noticed. Any slight smells or tastes are not noticed. And while there is awareness of joy throughout the body, there is no bodily discomfort or tensions or itches. Due to the absence of the hindrances, it's common for there to be an inner experience of light, which can also be seen as an indication of the background radiance of the mind. There will also tend to arise what's called a nimitta, or a mental impression of the object of meditation, such as the breath. This might be a simple patch of light in the center of your mental field of vision, with some breath-like movements in it, perhaps, which then becomes the main focus of attention in the meditation. 5 jhana factors. The above quote on the first jhana highlights certain aspects of it. And these are positive factors which help engage the mind, drawing out and intensifying its potential, culminating, when they are fully developed, in the attainment of the full state of mental clarity and unification that is jhana, meditation in the fullest sense. Right. Some more attempts to convey mental states by drawings. So the first of these is vitaka, mental application, or applied thought, which is applying and reapplying the mind to the meditation object. We engage the mind in the breath. It may wander off, so I have to re-engage it, etc. Second factor is vichara, or examination, sometimes translated as sustained thought. This is a sustained examination, an exploration of the meditation object. This arises as the object becomes naturally more interesting and inviting, so you really start to get a feel of what the breath is like. The third factor is piti, joy, a kind of feeling of satisfaction in the form of refreshing mental and physical energization, felt at first as mild tingles, perhaps like an effervescent fizzing in the blood, or like fish nibbling at one's skin. People describe it in different ways. The fourth factor is happiness. This is meant to convey a smile. A harmonization of energy that expresses itself in a more tranquil and calm way than joy, as a deeply contented inner happiness and sense of easeful physical pleasure. And then the fifth quality is chittasa ekagata, one-pointedness of mind, unification of the mind and its energies through being wholly focused on the meditation object, coming to remain on this for a long series of mind moments. Moreover, the concentration is a wholesome, skillful, positive mind state. As well as in meditation, these 5 factors can come into play in mastering any skill. An attentive noticing of any aspects of nature can also lead to joy. But for example, a musician needs to develop these qualities to be able to play effectively. And when things really flow nicely, there can be joy and happiness from them. There are then further jhanas, second, third, and fourth. In the second one, mental application and examination falls away. There's a great inner confidence and concentration with enhanced joy and happiness throughout the body. In the third jhana, joy falls away and leaves a very contented, tranquil happiness pervading the whole body again. In the fourth jhana, even this falls away, leaving a concentrated mind of great mindfulness and equanimity that pervades one, and where the mind is very, very concentrated, very, very mindful. So what I'm going to do now is say a little, actually try and introduce just a little taster of this kind of meditation. The kind of meditation I've been teaching since 1977 is that of the Samatha Trust tradition. This was developed by the Thai teacher Bunman Punyatiro, a one-time Theravada Buddhist monk who came to the UK in 1962 from India and taught a small group of people in Cambridge interested in meditation. So 2022 saw 60 years of this method being taught in the UK. Meditation is a practical skill that anyone can develop, provided they are willing to devote a small amount of time and effort to it each day. Practice in time brings many worthwhile fruits. Training the mind is a gradual process that requires patient persistence. One needs to believe that it's possible and worthwhile to change oneself, and that one can, with guidance, do it oneself through a process of gradual application and cultivation. Learning meditation is akin to learning to play a musical instrument. It's learning how to tune and play the mind. And a regular patient practice is the means to this. Moreover, just as a well-tuned stringed instrument has strings neither too slack or too tight, so in meditation the effort must be just right, balanced. Here the classical Buddhist idea of the path as a middle way is relevant. Meditation practice is also like gardening. You can't force the plants to grow, but one can assiduously provide them with the right conditions so that they develop naturally. For meditation, the right conditions are the appropriate and regular application of mind and of the specific technique being used. The tools of this meditation I teach include mindfulness, concentration, and a balanced application of effort. And the focus is on the in-breath and out-breath. Breathing is a particularly good object of meditation for the following reasons. It's something which is always with us, being always there to take note of, be mindful of, carefully feel, and bear in mind. It usually occurs unconsciously, but can be consciously attended to and adjusted. So it's at the crossroad of these two, conscious and unconscious. Breathing is a neutral object which does not induce like or dislike, desire or anger, or distracting associations, and so can be a subtle, peaceful object. Breathing is closely related to one's state of mind, especially emotions. How one feels is reflected in one's breathing, deep or shallow, slow or quick, smooth or jerky. But also how one breathes affects how one feels. As the breathing calms, the body as a whole calms down, and the mind. As the mind calms by focusing on the breath, breathing is itself calmed by this, and so becomes an even more refined, subtle, calming object. In the case of breathing meditation, one needs mindfulness to become properly familiar with the object, the flowing breath. And the aim is to always retain mindfulness of it, being aware of its length, speed, whether it's an in or out breath. On the basis of this, right concentration then focuses on a particular aspect of the process of breathing. The Samatha Trust method uses various breath lengths that are different from the normal breath lengths. And it starts with what's called the longest comfortable breath without straining. Whatever the breath length, though, breathing should still be a flowing, natural, and unstrained breath. Many other ways of doing mindfulness of breathing say that one should just breathe normally. This may simply be a way of ensuring that the breathing is not forced or strained, but just because it is changed from its normal pattern, you do a long breath, does not mean that it needs to be forced or strained. Guidance can be gentle rather than forced from its normal pattern. And a good pianist, as a comparison, a good pianist's fingers flow around the keyboard in a way that's far from easy or normal, but is also free from strain because it's well practiced. Using different breath lengths helps one avoid some of the ruts of everyday thinking that go with normal breathing. Moreover, the mere fact that one needs to set up a different form of breathing than normal helps one emphasize that one needs a special kind of attention for this activity. So, and this way of working has a proven track record. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to meditation teacher mode. And I want you to sit on your seat towards the front of your seat, not leaning against the back of it, with your back straight. Push up a little towards the ceiling and then relax down. Let your shoulders come down a little bit and back a little bit. Your eyes should be closed. Your chin go down a little bit. So if you open your eyes a little bit and you move your thumbs, you could just about see them if they're together in your lap. So your hands should be in your lap. Right hand on top of left, with the thumbs just gently relaxed down onto your finger. The position of your pelvis is important. Don't let it kind of slump backwards, which makes your whole body go down. Bring the top of your pelvis forward, and that helps you straighten your back as well. Your feet should be just flat on the floor. Just try and tune up that posture. Get a sense of your contact with the floor. First of all, just do a little bit of mindfulness of the body. You're aware of your contact with the floor, how that feels in your feet. Just feeling in your ankles, in your calf muscles, around your knees, in your thighs, backside against the seat, your hands and fingers, the lower arm, upper arm, shoulders, cross your shoulders, down your back a little bit, top part of your back, middle of the back. Come back up. Feelings around your neck. Notice the different feelings in your face. The top of your head. And bring your attention to your breathing. Your mouth should be shut and breathing through your nose. Just be aware of just your normal breath for the time being. And then just start to breathe a little bit more deeply. Reasonably slow, reasonably deep breath. Doing that, notice the sensations around your nostrils. Notice the sensations around the top of your nose. Then at the top of your throat. And the bottom of your throat. Notice the sensations in the middle of your chest. And the sensations from breathing, the flow of the breath. And around your navel area. What I want you to do now is to breathe your longest, fullest, comfortable breath without straining. So a nice, slow, full breath, drawing the breath right down into the body. No, you don't need to lift your shoulders off top of your chest. Or a little bit of expansion around the lower chest, but then draw it down into the stomach area and perhaps into the sides of your lower back. So a nice, slow, full breath. So you've got that established. And you're breathing in, count from 1 to 9. Breathe out, count from 9 back to 1. Just the speed of the count to your breath. Don't adjust the breath to what you think is the right speed to count. 1 to 9 in the in-breath, 9 back to 1 on the out-breath. Counting should be just done gently in your head. Don't force the breath to be longer than feels comfortable. Remember, a nice slow breath. This event, maybe that's enough. I usually start off maybe 5 or 10 minutes just to get used to it. And stop screen sharing now.
Okay, thank you for your informative lecture with great practice on meditation. 제가 궁금한 사항을 미리 받아 사전에 질문을 드렸는데요. 영어로 질문하도록 하겠습니다. So here is the first question. You have often discussed meditation on breathing. Could you provide some examples of how to use breathing in your personal life when you are stressed, fearful, or overwhelmed?
So in terms of daily life, how one can work with the breath to help reduce stress or whatever, a couple of ways. In a busy day, like when you've got a lot to do, like when you've got to organize an international Zoom connection, as you're doing now, take time to just, in between doing one thing and the next, just to stop, pause. Maybe get up from your computer if you're at the computer and just walk around a little bit. Maybe look outside, just notice things around you. And then maybe just close your eyes, feel your contact with the ground. Notice how you're holding the body. And then be aware of how you're breathing. And then maybe start to do a little bit of that slow, long breath so that you kind of adjust the way you're breathing. And then if you're feeling, let's say you're feeling a little bit rushed or irritated, you can try to notice that feeling, but step back from it. So breathing that nice, slow, full breath, you think, breathing in long, there is irritation. Breathing out long, there is irritation, or it might be. Breathing in long, there is feeling of tense rushing. Breathing out long, there's a feeling of tense rushing. So you're aware of those feelings, emotional states, but you've stood back from them a little bit and are aware of them in a calm way. Because once you start doing that slow, full breathing, if you're used to doing that in a meditation sit, simply starting to breathe like that helps you be a little bit more calm and mindful. So you can be aware of what the mind is doing and how the body is feeling, but from a calmer place. You're less dragged into it. You can be aware of it, that negative state, without being it. So I think that's the main kind of ways that you can bring mindfulness into your daily life. And again, just little things like, which I briefly mentioned, you're in a traffic jam and you're getting a bit frustrated at why the traffic is moving so slowly. But it's raining and you see rain coming down the windscreen. Just notice that natural event. Or if you're in a long queue of traffic and it's slow to get onto a junction or a roundabout, you can practice a little what's called mudita, or empathetic joy. Be happy for each person as they reach the end of the queue. You want to get to the end of the queue, but just be happy for each person as they get to the end of the queue. So there is little ways in which you can bring mindfulness and some good feeling into the day.
Okay, moving on to the next question. You mentioned concentration and mindfulness. Could you explain the distinction between the two in simpler terms?
Okay, so in terms of concentration, as I mentioned, it is being focused, being concentrated. It's not, the word samadhi is not for concentrating, that's more appropriate effort. Mindfulness helps you notice, for example, if you're trying too hard, you're trying to force the mind to be concentrated. So that helps you ease off. Or if you notice that the mind is too distracted, not very concentrated, mindfulness will help you see that you need to gather the mind. As I mentioned, you might, if the mind wanders, you might become very concentrated, but not on the breath. So you need to remember that's part of mindfulness, to come back to the breath, feeling the breath. And all of that has to be done with a kind of kindness. Basically, you need a balance of discipline and kindness, just as a good parent needs that with their child. In this case, you are the child. So you need to gently guide the mind in a way that's kind but not too forceful. And you need to have, it helps to have a sense of humor about oneself. You know, when you see the mind doing silly things that it does, think, I know that mental state, not very helpful. Come on, come back to concentration, come back to focus. So mindfulness helps one guide the mind. For example, a kind of related Buddhist teaching is the 5 faculties: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So mindfulness in the middle helps you keep a balance of energy or application and calm concentration. It also helps you keep a balance of faith or trust and understanding. You need trust in your own ability, trust in a teacher and a method, but you also need a bit of discernment, to make sure that this person that's teaching you is actually trustworthy, for example, or that you're doing it in the right way. So it's working with these different qualities of the mind. A bit like a good cook, you need the right balance. Mindfulness is like tasting the food to see if it's right. You need a bit of this, more of this, or a bit more of that.
Okay, thanks again for your precious lecture and time. 자, 큰 박수 한 번 더 부탁드리겠습니다.
Let's give him a big round of applause.
네, 이로써 2023 서울 국제 명상 엑스포 첫날을 마무리하겠습니다. 함께해 주신 모든 분들께
This includes the
감사드리고요.
first day of the
2차
2023 Seoul International Meditation
컨퍼런스
Conference.
명상 역시
Thank you to all
온라인으로
who have joined
함께하실
us
수
today.
있도록 알차게 준비되어 있으니 많은
You can
참여
also join us
부탁드리겠습니다.
online.
돌아가시는 길 안녕히
We hope
그리고
you are safe
안전히
trip back
돌아가시길
home.
바랍니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.